Fortuna. Welcome to BetMGM tonight. Straight away for me, my man. You know where this is going. Earning their highest AP ranking since 2008. And I had long, luscious hair. Fortuna in 2008. You may or may not be aware of that. Illinois is number 12 in the country in the initial AP poll, also number 12 in the country in the coaches poll. The buzz in Champaign-Urbana is deafening right now. Do you think this team is actually going to deliver? What's its ultimate destiny? Currently, Illinois is 5-1 at BetMGM to make the college football playoff. Please tell me this is going to be a special year for this long-suffering fan.
I don't want to make our listeners' heads explode with too crazy claims at the start of this segment, but I also had a full head of hair in 2008, and I am buying the Fighting Illini this season. You win 10 games, you return 16 starters, you've got a proven head coach, Brett Bielema, you've got what by definition is the most clutch quarterback in college football, Luke Altmaier. There's a lot to like about this team. Now, Brett Bielema is a great talker. He has not shied away from pumping his chest up about this team. But he thinks these guys are not getting enough respect, and understandably so. There was a lot of talk last year, or I guess after last year, about should South Carolina have been in the playoff, should Ole Miss have been in the playoff. There wasn't much talk about should Illinois have been in the playoff. And Brett Bielema got up there at the podium at Big Ten Media Days in Vegas a couple weeks ago. When he got asked for his favorite memories of last year, he said, beating South Carolina, who everyone thought was a playoff team, as did I. So I guess that makes us one too. And look, you're a weathered Illini fan. You live in town. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff covering the Big Ten in my day. I don't need to go over the recent history here. This, in some ways, from a karma perspective, has 5-7 written all over it because of all the mojo and hype they've gotten all off season. But look, I can't find a good reason not to think that these guys won't be a 9 or 10 plus win team again. They're going to be favored in every game outside of Ohio State and maybe at Indiana early in the season, at least on paper right now. 5-1, I think, is a very fair market that you should take if you're buying the Illini right now to make the playoffs. Because, again, I'm not saying these guys are going to win the national title this year. I'm saying they're going to be a possibly top 12 team. And if Indiana can do it, Illinois sure as hell can do it too.
Yeah, Matt, sticking in the Big Ten, man. I mean, obviously, I think Penn State, Ohio State, the teams to beat for Penn State. Drew Aller's back, Singleton's back, Allen's back. I like the Jim Knowles hire, and it's year 2 now for Colton Nicky calling plays. Ohio State's the defending champs. Oregon, most likely, will still, if Dante Moore isn't a complete bust, have a top 10 offense. How many teams do you think get in from the Big Ten into the playoff, and who do you think ultimately does win the conference?
Yeah, I mean, I doubt you'd see more than 4, just when you look at, Notre Dame being another playoff contender again, the guarantee bids elsewhere, the SEC only getting 3 in last season. It would take something really special, I think, to get 5 teams for any conference in the 12-team playoff. But I think Ohio State, Penn State, probably Oregon, and maybe Illinois as a 4th team. There are other candidates out there, certainly, right? I mean, Michigan's a bit of a wild card, right? I'd say Nebraska and USC are wild cards every year, at least in recent years. I don't think either of them are going to be quite to playoff contention yet. But again, Indiana made a lot of us look silly last year with the run they were able to make in year 1 under Kurt Signetti. So I think there are 3 teams, the 3 you mentioned at the top, that are legitimate national title contenders. I would expect all 3 to make the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a 4th that found their way in there as well. And as far as who's going to the conference, on paper, I lean Penn State. I just think the cards kind of line up for them really well here, right? I mean, not just in the Big Ten, but around the country. I can't think of a year where there were so few proven returning starting quarterbacks, right? I mean, if you look at the top 10 and the national title contender list, it's Drew Aller, it's Kate Klubnik, it's Garrett Nussmeier. Is there anybody else? I'm sure I'm missing someone. I mean, Arch is not proven. As high as I and everyone else am on him, the guy has not started a full season yet. So I think that's working in Penn State's favor. And you look at recent history, right? The last 2 national champions have come from the Big Ten. They were 2 teams that basically got all their seniors to come back with NIL money to make one last run at finishing the job after heartbreak in big games the year before. And I think Penn State right now is following a similar recipe. And again, the other 2 contenders we mentioned in the Big Ten, Oregon, Ohio State, have quarterback questions at the moment. So Penn State's the safe pick for sure. Getting Oregon at home early in the season for a whiteout is going to be special as well.
Yeah, completely agree, man. Moving on, you brought up Arch, and I was going to ask you if you're buying into the Texas hype. I'm a Sark guy. I think Arch is going to be good. I think he's properly priced to win the Heisman. Not a bet that I would make. Who else do you like in the SEC? I'm kind of buying into LSU, man, because their win total is 8.5. And if Brian Kelly doesn't win 9-10 games and at least make the playoff, like they might run him out of town. I don't know if it's this year, but they have Nussmeier. They've had really good quarterback play. They just got to figure out the defense. Who other than Texas do you like in the SEC? And who do you think, could win the SEC and make a run in the playoff?
Yeah, that's a really low number for LSU given the talent on that roster. They got arguably the best transfer portal class coming in. Again, a proven starter at quarterback. The recent history in openers is obviously not great. 0-5, right? And you've got another slobber knocker in week 1 at the other Death Valley, Clemson, another national title contender in prime time. That Clemson's a favorite in right now, and probably understandably so, given the proven good they have coming back. But I do think there's the potential for LSU to make a run here, right? Between the talent on that roster. You mentioned Brian Kelly. I don't know if I'd say hot seat, but I'm with you in the sense that there's a lot of pressure on this guy this year. You look at the last 3 LSU head coaches, Orgeron, Miles, Saban, all of them won national titles in year 3 or year 4. And this is year 4 for Brian Kelly. He left Notre Dame because he thought he could have won a national title there, and he thought he could in the SEC. Well, guess what? Notre Dame seems to be doing pretty well without him right now. So there's a lot of pressure on Kelly. I will say this. I've covered the guy long enough. The guy's going to pass first, second, and third more often than not if he has his choice. They need to commit to running the football. This was one of the worst rushing teams in the SEC last year. And, oh, by the way, they lost the top 3 pick in the NFL draft at left tackle. So I need to see them be a little bit more balanced on offense. We'll see if we get a taste of that in week 1 against Clemson, because if they win that one, I mean, they're definitely going over 8.5, and they're probably going to shoot up to being the number 1 or number 2 team in the country in week 2. I think this is a very, very talented team, but I'm not completely sold on them just yet.
We're talking to one of the best in the business covering college football and also an insider in college basketball. That is Matt Fortuna, the founder of the Inside Zone. Make sure you follow him on X or the Twitter at Matt_Fortuna. Again, on X at Matt_Fortuna. Among teams ranked in the initial AP Top 25, give us a squad or two that we're going to look back and say, how in the hell were they ranked before the season began? In other words, is there a Florida State failure in college football this year?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see anything that bad, right? I mean, I've never seen anything like that from going to the brink of the playoffs and falling off the face of the earth. And I'm sure in your world, betting-wise, like I'm not sure the market could ever properly adjust enough for Florida State, right, with the way they just kept losing and losing and losing. You know, there are candidates in there. I'm not completely sold on Florida at 15 right now. I think we had such low expectations for them last year that the fact they surpassed them has us all aboard the DJ Lagway hype train right now. And I would argue, yes, he's probably as important to any team's success as any one individual is throughout the country. But there are questions about him, right, with the shoulder and whatnot. And, again, it's a tough schedule for the Gators. They got an early one at rival Miami. I don't think that's a top 15 team. Oklahoma at number 18 is very interesting to me because I think on paper I would vote them as a top 25 team. I think on paper that's a team that could be primed for a breakout season in the SEC, bringing aboard John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle from Washington State. That said, that schedule is so daunting that I don't think anyone would be flat out shocked if they went 6-6 again. And you go 6-6, clearly you're going to fall out of the top 25 pretty early. So that's one I definitely have my eye on. And then seeing Indiana ranked, I mean, I think they're going to be a really good football team again this year. I don't think they're going to be anything close to last year, and I think the schedule is going to, even things out a little bit for them as well. I'm thinking about 8 or 9 win team, which is still good by Indiana standards. But it was, kind of refreshing to see them kind of get rewarded for what they did last year and be placed in the top 20 of the AP poll that came out this week.
Fortuna, we'll get you out of here on this. Conversely, give us a school that could be coming out of nowhere, maybe out of left field, similar to what Indiana was last year. A team that's way off the radar that maybe has a shot to shock the world and possibly make the college football playoff. Is there any school that could live up to that kind of expectation?
Well, I mean, whoever the group of 5 is, as long as it's not Boise State, is going to be surprised, right? I mean, Boise State's kind of got him by as the the default pick every year to be the best team from the group of five, and understandably so. But I think it'll be a special moment for whoever makes it from those other conferences. I don't know if this is a playoff team, but the one over-under I keep looking at and trying to figure out if I'm missing something is Duke at 6.5. They won 10 games last year, and they just paid $4 million for a quarterback in Darian Mensah. Manny Diaz, for my money, is one of the most underrated coaches in the country. He was phenomenal at Penn State DC. He was phenomenal last year leading Duke. And by the way, when he was at Miami, he had the second highest ACC winning percentage during his time there behind just Dabo Swinney. So, the guy got a raw deal down in Coral Gables and is making the most of his second chance. So that's one where I think they could go way over that 6.5 total. I don't know if they're a playoff team. I think that's probably pushing it a little bit. But outside of Clemson, it really does seem wide open in the ACC. Louisville's another popular pick. I don't know if I'm there quite yet with the Cardinals, but I'd say Duke's a team to keep an eye on. Illinois, obviously, the team to keep an eye on. And then, frankly, throwing darts and pick a team from the Big 12, right? Someone's got to win that league. Last year happened to be the team that was picked to finish dead last out of all 16 teams. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw a similar rise this year. But I will be following Texas Tech closely just because they paid bananas type of money for that transfer portal class. And at some point, you got to deliver, right? I mean, you can't just be going 8-5 every year and saying that's good enough. I think there's some, unspoken pressure on Joey McGuire this year. They were preseason ranked. They've got a lot coming back. They paid, depending on who you read, $40+ million for the roster. That's a winnable league. You got to go out and do it now if you're Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders.
Terrific stuff. And don't forget, folks, Illinois and Duke clash in like the second or third week of the season in Durham. So that could be a tide shifting early game. Let's find a little bit under the radar. Terrific stuff as always from the one, the only Matt Fortuna, founder of the Inside Zone College Football Basketball Insider. Give him a follow on X, would you kindly, at Matt_Fortuna, and on X at Matt_Fortuna. Matt, I appreciate the time as always. We'll be catching up throughout the entire season, and the first dozen or so rounds are going to be on me on Green State when you come and visit in Champaign.
Thanks, man.
Cheers to one time having a full head of hair just like me.
Amen, my man.